my personal opinion has always been that social software that is by default open enables lots of new things that didn't exist before. So for example, before Flickr existed, where you show your photos publicly to the world, there was a bunch of websites where you could, like by Kodak or something, where you could upload your photos and then send it to your grandmother so she can look at them. But when Flickr came with this idea of let's just make every photo public, suddenly all kinds of new communities were able to build on that, and people you didn't know looked at your photos and became inspired or made connections and everything. So I think there's some value in being default open, but of course it's a basic human need to have some privacy, and it's very hard for people to understand and anticipate what is online and how long it's going to be online and how it can be found by which people. So but what I am sharing I think should be as open as possible, because I want to be open to all kinds of new influences and connections that I couldn't have anticipated. I don't want to be locked into my existing social network and only show them what's on my mind. I want to show the whole world. If anyone cares, read it and maybe something will happen. So, and I think this discussion about, well, my employee is gonna Google me and then find my party photos and not hire me. I live in sort of a bubble here, and that's probably an arrogant point of view, but I don't want to work for someone who won't hire me because of some party photo. That would be a horrible workplace anyway. And also in the future, the next generation, like everyone is going to have stuff online that they're ashamed of because they posted something when they were 16 and it was, I don't know, a bad website or a stupid picture or whatever. In the next generation, like politicians and leaders and everyone is going to have that kind of stuff online. And I think that might actually lead to, it's a bit, maybe it's a utopia, but I think it's going to lead to a more open society where you don't, because everyone has done stuff that they're embarrassed about, or everyone has changed their opinions, and that's fine and that's totally normal. Journalists especially, but also sometimes politicians in the future, it would be very helpful for them if they knew how to program sometimes. Because I think someone like a journalist needs to be able to, without depending on someone external, I don't know, write something that analyzes a lot of data sources, or write a little social app that gets other people to contribute to something and stuff like that. And I think it's bad if those people are always relying on an agency to program something for them, because they need to be more agile, and if something doesn't work right, they need to be able to get in there and change something. Just do it and stop making excuses. Find a way to get your stuff off the ground. I mean, that's what everyone says, but it's also the only real advice. So perseverance, an interest in, like, there's so much literature online, there's so much blogs of people who are really smart about startups. You can learn all that stuff. You just need to go and find it and read it. And then the only problem is how do you actually create the thing. So you should be, if you're not a developer, find a developer that you can really make enthusiastic about this project. And if you can't make it work otherwise, just work in the evenings and at weekends, as long as you need to prove that very, very first version, the minimum viable product, it's called, where, I don't know, 5 of your friends say, not just your friends, maybe 5 people you don't know say, yes, that's cool, I could imagine later if you add this and this and this and this and this, I might pay for it. The problem about advice is that, and it's also something I kind of learned at Seed Camp with all these mentoring sessions, is that for every guy who says, oh, the way to do it is this, there's another guy who says, no, the way to do it is that. So there's always someone, so you can find advice for everything. So which also just means that there's no secret recipe to success. There's no one way of doing it. It's very, very much dependent on your circumstances and your idea, and there's no general advice. The only general advice is don't give up. Like, I've been on this for 2 years now because I think it's still an exciting idea, and success is just around the corner. And apply to Seed Camp. No reason not to. well, if it isn't money, then it must be community. It must be the most energizing thing. Like Seed Camp Week in London was the best week in our startup that we ever had because of the atmosphere, because the air was full of ambitious people starting ambitious projects and exchanging ideas, and that's the atmosphere you have to create, and that's real value. Like just bringing ambitious people in a room together multiplies the output. So, and not just talking about it. There's a bunch of like startup events where people gather around and say, oh, cool startups, and look and present stuff and talk about ideas without actually doing stuff. So doing stuff is the important thing. Don't talk too long, do stuff. But it also needs to be like bottom up. I think that's why I like the Meta Lab so much, and that's why I met the people that I founded my company with at the Meta Lab, because there wasn't anyone who, you didn't have to apply and someone decided who's in and who's out. I mean, there was this group of enthusiasts who created this atmosphere that attracts other interesting people. That's self-sustaining, and it's we never, I don't know, did any big advertising for it, or there's no one at the door saying you can come in and you can't. We always try to be as open as possible. But of course the flip side of that is that not everyone at the Meta Lab cares about startups or commercial enterprises at all. There's lots of people there who are, I don't know, hardcore open source, or just want to hack in their spare time on fun projects without ever making anything commercial because they think that's evil. So there's a huge variety there, and probably for something like your project that wouldn't work really this way. Do you know the Paris Hackerspace? What is it called?
GMP Lab.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's cool. I haven't been, but yeah, I would collaborate with them, for example. The hackerspaces are very different also. There's some that are totally focused on hardware, there's some that are totally focused on like computer security, and there are some like the Meta Lab who are really open to anything creative with technology. That's the only two points that you need to, yeah, I don't know, is that good enough?
Perfect.
I am always interested in the specific ideas and projects and like, get my hands dirty and code something and do something, and not so much just talk about the future and imagine all that. I'm sure that's an important part, but I would rather see people demonstrating what they do than talking about what one should do. At the Meta Lab we have this, like, we forbid people from using the phrase someone should something. You cannot say that. Either do it yourself or shut up.
It's the same at La Cantine. When someone has an idea, you have the idea, then you have to do it.
Yeah, sure.
You're responsible of your idea.
Everyone can say, oh, we should. At some point, maybe someone should in the future. No.